You've probably seen a whole lot of benchmarks with the 5800 X3D and Warzone, but no one has actually paired this with an entry-level CAD like the RX 6600 XT. Let's get this out of the way. Here's a run-through of the different settings we are going to test in this video. Pretty interesting. Now let's do this again, but this time against the 12600K on a DDR4 memory. Yes, that's right boys, a DDR4 memory because all the other benchmarks are using DDR5. Before we go through, analyze and discuss this video wouldn't be complete without our gameplay memes. Now besides the FPS, try to focus also on the frame time charts during the clashes because it will determine how stuttering the gameplay is. Okay, let's go.
A few moments later.
Help me!
B is pretty decent. You can comfortably reach 200 plus FPS here at Rebirth Island, and GPU utilization is of course maxed out, which is really surprising. CPU clock speed is also maxed out, and you can see our VRAM here is at 7.1 gigabytes. Frame times are pretty stable and consistent. A quick note here, we are testing at the rooftop of Rebirth Island, which may not be the most graphically intensive part of the game, but of course this is where a lot of players are clashing, and this is what we want to see. 1080p is also pretty good. Our FPS does drop a little bit here, usually hovering at 200 and sometimes dips down to below 200, and as always GPU utilization is also maxed out, and this is still a solid experience with frame times really stable. At 1440p, we see our performance has definitely been affected. FPS has dropped by 15% down to 130 plus FPS, with GPU power now reaching at about 120 plus watts. Frame times however remain stable and acceptable with below 8 milliseconds most of the time. And as I've said in our previous videos, the 6600 XT is capable of 1440p gaming. But if you want to be competitive, it is always wise to stay at 1080p. Comparing this with the 12600K, head-to-head sees the 5800 X3D fair better. Now, I know this is an unfair comparison, but provided this is a good way to test generational performance between the brands on a GPU bottleneck scenario, and what I was trying to emphasize here is the DDR4 expectations. Most of the gameplay benchmarks that we've seen are usually using DDR5. And I hope you found this video helpful. If you're interested in the streaming performance of this setup, I suggest you watch this video right here. This has really interesting results for Warzone streaming compared to this dedicated video. Thank you, and I'll see you guys over there.